There was a very special happening during the 2012 Donington Historic Festival when 81-year-old Sir Stirling Moss was reunited with the C-Type Jaguar that he'd driven to victory in the Reims Grand Prix for sports cars 60 years previously.
Driving on their car, so they wouldn't give him a local prize, so Tommy was allowed to drive not this car, because Tommy was had this stuff. The winning car by Tony Wells, no, Hamilton, not the car, was driven by Stirling Moss and Peter Walker. It's from the competition winner from the telegraph competition. Yes. Climbing out. And lots of photographs. Stirling also drove a C-Type Jaguar in the Mid-Amelia, which is a 1,000-mile race in Italy. And quite near the finish. You haven't yet got the football by races by Stirling Moss. Well worth it. Reunited with the car. He won in France in 1952. Loving every minute of it.
Well, that car's a very famous car because that is the car that the actual disc brakes were developed on. And in fact, the first race that was ever won on disc brakes, I had that car in 1952 at Reims. And I must say, unless you've ever been in a drum brake car as they were, and then you get this incredible difference, amazing difference.
The disc brake had been developed for aircraft landing gear, and most car companies were suspicious of the new technology, but Jaguar embraced it and reaped the benefits.
I mean, the benefit of that over drums, I must tell you, was enormous. It wasn't just the braking power, because with drums you get tremendous braking power, but of course you've got a tremendous amount of brake fade and that sort of thing, and of course that didn't happen with the Jag.
Because there were so few competitive Formula One cars available in 1952, the organisers of the Monaco Grand Prix decided to run the event as a sports car race. And the Jagauar C-Type was very definitely a potential winner.
I mean, at Monaco, that car was really quite well suited and had quite a lot of power for going up the hill and so on. Although the competition, of course, coming from Gordini was quite tough because he built his cars so light that the brakes didn't matter too much, you know, and he had quite reasonable horsepower, so he would have been a tough thing to beat.
Stirling Moss was leading the race comfortably in his C-Type, just as this one is doing in a recent Monaco historic event. But a rival car blew its engine and deposited oil all over the track. Several competitors, including Stirling Moss, went out of the race in a multi-car crash.
Oh, there was one great big multiple shunt there because of the oil, and I mean the trouble with multi-cars, the flag marshals didn't get the flags out quickly enough. They probably saw a car spin off and didn't realise it was oil. And because somebody dropped a lot of oil, until a lot of cars had done it, then out came the oil flag. And so, you know, if you're in front of that, that was quite difficult.
Also in 1952, Jaguar entered Stirling Moss and co-driver Norman Jewis in the Mille-Miglia, a 1,000-mile road race around Italy. It was part of the company's race testing programme prior to the all-important 24 hours race at Le Mans in France.
Well, as far as I remember, we used the Mille-Miglia as a test. Because Norman Jewis and myself were doing development tests with Dunlops on that car, and we were out in Italy and going around, and how better to test a car than run it in the race 1,000 miles, and so we entered the race without having even done one recce course. I mean, we just drove it, literally, I drove the thing as fast as I could, and if it looked slowed back, I got no notes or any of that. And so, and then we got actually within 100 miles of the end, and I think we were lying third overall, so it didn't do badly.
Stirling Moss returned from the Mille-Miglia and warned Jaguar that the Mercedes-Benz 300 SL coupes were very fast indeed. Jaguar reacted by giving the C-Type a new body for Le Mans, with a more aerodynamic nose and tail. But it was not a success. The new nose design restricted airflow to the engine, and all of the factory team cars retired with overheating problems.
I told them how fast the Mercs were, and of course they then started doing things to make the car, the Jaguar, faster, the mods to the C-Type, and unfortunately it caused bad overheating, and so they really null and void.
Up until 1950, the teenage Stirling Moss had been known as a boy wonder in the 500cc motorcycle-engined Formula 3 cars. People doubted his ability to cope with a bigger car until he took a dominant wet-weather win in the 1950 Tourist Trophy race on the dangerous Dundrod road circuit in Northern Ireland.
I remember Tommy Wisdom coming to me and said he'd been offered a Jupiter, I think it was. Would I like to take over his Jag? Because he'd managed to buy a Jaguar when they weren't on sale to normal people. I mean, if you or I wanted one, they wouldn't sell them because they wanted the dollars from America. And Tommy, because he was a press, he managed to get one. He said, would I like to drive his car there? And so that's how it came about.
When Stirling won that 1950 TT, he was still a teenager. That same night, he was signed to a Jaguar contract and began his 20th year as a factory team driver.
You see, that night, I was 20 years old, and Sir William, or William Lyons as he was then, came to me and said, would I drive for the team and lead the team the following year? Which, I mean, to a 20-year-old, you can imagine was a fantastic offer. I mean, beautiful cars, fast, and of course, that was a tremendous birthday present.
Stirling then won the Tourist Trophy again in 1951, this time in a C-Type. He drove C-Types for 3 seasons, but victory in the Le Mans 24-hour race eluded him. He was second in 1953, but victory went to his teammates pictured here, Duncan Hamilton and Tony Rolt.
Yes, it was a lot better. I mean, apart from the brakes, it was a lot better because it was obviously faster because of more streamlined body. It was a much more racy type of chassis. I presume they stiffened it up or something, and of course a good engine. It was 3.4 then, but a good engine with quite a lot of torque and power, and particularly well suited actually to that circuit, because that was a dangerous circuit, and if you could keep your speed up, it was a great help.
Stirling and the C-Type were back at Reims in 1953. This time it was a 12-hour race, and Stirling was teamed with 1951 Le Mans winner Peter Whitehead, who's at the wheel in this shot. The pair won the race comfortably. It was one of a number of victories with the C-Type for Stirling. No wonder he rates it as one of his most favourite cars.
The C-Type certainly came in as a beautiful looking car. I mean, really proud. I remember we raced at Le Mans, and of course you have to walk through the streets, and I was very proud to walk alongside this beautiful looking Jaguar. And there's no doubt that it was a very fine car for racing. I mean, in fact, I personally prefer to race that than the D-Type. The D-Type was built for Le Mans, it won Le Mans, did its job, but it didn't actually handle as nicely as the C-Type.
Sir Stirling Moss and the 1952 Reims Grand Prix winning Jagauar C-Type, 2 legends reunited after 60 years. The occasion marked another milestone in the life of one of the greatest racing drivers that the world has ever known.